Hey everybody, Bike and Sean here. Wanted to show you my Dustin Turpin Logic flipper. I've had this knife now for about a month and a half, and it was my first custom folding knife, still is my one and only custom folding knife, and I really like it a lot. I gave you guys a little bit of a preview when I received the knife, so I was just really excited to have it, and I kind of wanted to show you guys. But I think right now I'm ready to give you some thoughts about the knife, let you know what to expect if you get yourself one of these Dustin Turpin Logic folders. Okay, so right off the bat, this is an awesome knife. I'm not going to really have a lot negative to say about it. In fact, really I don't have anything negative to say about it, honestly. There's a couple of things that I'm not sure about on the knife, like, well, I don't know what kind of blade steel was used on this knife. Dustin Turpin uses a lot of CPM 154, which I would kind of guess is probably what's used on this knife. But then again, you know, the nature of a custom knife, he could be using any type of blade steel at the time that he wanted to use, and I got this knife secondhand from another user, so I'm just really not sure. I'm not going to be able to speak to the blade steel. Also, I'm not familiar enough with Dustin Turpin's work to know if this is kind of indicative of what he does on most of the Logics, or if this is a little bit different than what he does. I can point out some things that I've seen just from experience and from looking at other variations, and I can point those differences out and talk about them. So I did score this knife on the forums. It was actually my first forums purchase and my first custom knife, and even though I didn't specify this configuration, I was really happy with the way this knife is made. I really like this carbon fiber scale with the titanium bolsters. Well, the single side has the bolster, and then the other side is the titanium frame lock. I've seen versions that Dustin's put on forums where he's had a liner lock version of the Logic, and on the liner lock I've seen bolsters on both sides, which is pretty cool. But this is the frame lock. Also, the titanium has an orange peel finish, which again, it's my first experience with orange peel finish on titanium, and you can kind of see that there. It's on the pocket clip as well. It just gives a nice texture to the titanium, and it also gives it some color variation, which is pretty interesting. This knife will look more of a natural silver color in some light, but it'll also take on a kind of a bronze appearance in other lighting, which is pretty neat. Just gives it a lot of depth. So you can see the way that the bolsters are made. You've got a titanium liner essentially, and then the titanium bolster and the carbon fiber scale. All the details are really nicely done. One thing that you can tell about the orange peel is if you look at that titanium backspacer, it's not orange peeled, but it is titanium, and you can kind of see that it has a little bit of a lighter appearance. At least I think you can see that. So that just kind of gives you an example of how it changes the color on the titanium. I like this integrated lanyard attachment part here. I'm not going to put a lanyard on this knife per se, but I do kind of like how that's built in there. And again, I've seen versions of the Logic that have an open pillar design as well, instead of this backspacer. So either way. Another detail just about the fit and finish that I like is how everything lines up really nicely here with the blade. So it's just a nice touch. It is a flipper, and it's IKBS. It flips out awesome. Really smooth. And really smooth closing too. The detent is not overly strong, but it's strong enough. As you can kind of see, you know, it flips out nicely. I also like how the flipper is not really obtrusive. It's not really large, and it's kind of rounded. There's no sharp edges, and it's at a nice angle where it just works really well. So, and it makes a nice little finger guard here with the flipper, of course, which that's fairly common of flippers. That's one thing that I like about a flipper is the little finger guard there. Has a really nice jimping. It's not terribly aggressive, but it does give you a little bit extra traction since the rest of the knife is pretty smooth. It's very smooth actually. So this does help you get a little bit better traction. The blade shape is kind of a traditional drop point style. Has this nice flat grind, kind of a saber grind. And the blade stock here is about, I think it's about 4 millimeters. So it's a nice, decent chunk of steel there. My version doesn't have a swedge, and I know that he does make versions with a swedge. In my opinion, either one's nice. I like them both, but I think it's kind of cool on this one just that it has a very clean look, and it gives a nice stout appearance to the spine of the blade without the swedge. The carbon fiber is just sick on this knife. It's just so cool. It's kind of like a really large weave, almost marbled, but I don't think it's exactly the same as like a marbled carbon fiber, but I really like it. The lockup is excellent. You can see there it's pretty early. The blade tang is cut at a straight angle. It's kind of a steep angle, which I've heard may cause some kind of an issue with lock rock potentially. I know at least one example I've heard had that, and it could be due to that, but mine is very, very solid. After I heard that, you know, some versions of this had lock rock, I kind of really checked mine out closely to make sure that that wasn't the case with mine. And I've been flipping this thing a lot, and it's not moved an inch, or well, obviously not an inch, but it hasn't moved at all. Also, this titanium lock bar, there's absolutely no stickiness, which is a big thing for me. I don't like a sticky lock bar with titanium frame locks, and this one's not sticky at all. So, not sure exactly how he does that. Maybe it's carbidized or heat treated. I haven't taken the knife apart, nor do I plan to. It has that IKBS system, which I don't even want to take this apart and risk losing those little ball bearings, but you know, whatever he did to design the lock up this way is working really well because there's no stickiness and it locks up solid. So I think right now I'll just show you a couple other knives to compare it to. I thought a good comparison would be with my Kershaw Tilt, in that it's also a nice titanium flipper with a bearing system, and the Tilt still rockets out super nicely. I really do like the action of this knife. Also no stick on the lock bar on the Tilt, so Kershaw did a really good job with that. Obviously the Tilt, this being the Logic being a 3.5 inch blade, is a much smaller knife. Actually it has probably the same cutting edge, you know, because the Tilt has this huge finger choil, but you know, the Tilt's considerably longer. Also carbon fiber, but I like the carbon fiber on the Logic a lot better than the carbon fiber on the Tilt. Here's another knife that I thought would be fun to take out and show you guys, because it doesn't get a ton of camera time, but I think it deserves it. And basically this is the Spyderco Endura with the Damascus blade and the titanium bolsters. So I guess I pulled this one out just because I think it's my only other knife that has bolsters, and titanium bolsters at that. I don't know, maybe I have another one. I can't really think off the top of my head, but yeah, these two awesome knives. And then the Chris Reeve large Sebenza. A lot of similarities between the two on the with the blade shape, but the Logic has a much more stout blade, a lot thicker blade steel. But these are both excellent EDC knives. Also, the Sebenza is a little bit of a longer blade, where the Logic is exactly 3.5 inches, and the Chris Reeve large Sebenza is, I believe, close to 3.75 inches. Oh, another cool detail is this pocket clip. He doesn't always do this pocket clip. Most of the variations that I've seen pictures of have a much more basic kind of plain pocket clip. I'm not sure why he doesn't use this one on all of his knives, because it's really a great functional pocket clip and it has a cool detail. But I'm glad that it's on this knife. It's cool. Also, I really do like how the detail of kind of carving out where your finger actuates the flipper right here on the back of the knife. You can kind of see that, you know, it's done very symmetrically, and then there's just this nice rounded carved out section, and it gives you just a little bit more room for your finger to really get kind of down in there and make sure that you get the knife fully deployed. Same thing on the lock bar side. It's really nicely carved out so that you can get your thumb in there to disengage the lock bar. Just a nice detail that I think just shows that he's really paying attention to every detail on this knife. So, great knife. I would recommend it. There's tons of different versions. Obviously, with a custom knife, you could do a lot of different things. So you can go check out his website, maybe see if some other examples. I haven't really seen too many that are like this, but you know, that's kind of what makes it cool, I guess. And I really like the knife. I actually carry this pretty often, so I like to carry my knives, even if they're a little bit more expensive custom knife. So there you go. That's the Dustin Turpin Logic. Please feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.